Welcome everyone to this gathering. The idea here that we are going to start a reflection and also remember a little bit of the importance of the JoAnn seminar. And we have some friends also here to tell stories about the past JoAnn seminar. It's also very important to speak about this year seminar. It's a different year, it will be online, but it will be, I'm sure, the same feeling of the global community coming together. So we'll start with a short period of silence. And we start with this quote by JoAnn. In meditation, we develop our capacity to turn our whole being towards the other. We learn to let our neighbor be just as we learn to let God be. We learn not to manipulate our neighbor, but rather to reverence them, to reverence their importance, to wonder of their being. In other words, we learn to love our neighbor. Because of this, prayer is the great school of community. So we do now a short period of silence. So before we start, I think just welcoming everyone again, the ones that are joining via Zoom or via YouTube, and our guests here. We will start with a short introduction of ourselves. So I'm Leo Corrêa. I'm the WCCM Director of Communications, and I'm speaking from Brazil. Maybe Enrique, you as the host country of the seminar, can start yourself. You need to unmute, Enrique.
Thank you, Leo. I am Enrique Lavin, and I am the National Coordinator for Mexico. And we're hosting the JoAnn seminar this year, 2020.
Thank you. JoAnn?
I'm JoAnn, and I was the organizer along with a team of many volunteers in Vancouver. Last year we had JoAnn Seminar 2019 in just north of Vancouver in Squamish, British Columbia, Canada.
Thank you. Jose? Pype?
Yes, I am Jose from Belgium, National Coordinator. And we organized with a big team in 2018 our JoAnn seminar. And yes, I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. Jose Maria?
Hi, I am Jose Maria. I hold the role of National Coordinator for Argentina and also a role at the guiding board. And I have had the fortune of attending 3 JoAnn seminars, one in France, one in Belgium, and one in Houston, USA. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to start, just looking back, to the history of the JoAnn seminar and why it's important. It is a historic, I think, the most important event in our calendar. So I'm going to show you some short videos and images from the past seminars, so we can have the memories and the importance of this event. So the first seminars from 84 to 1990, they were kind of small events, and they were all hosted in Montreal, in the Benedictine Priory of Montreal. And then this was even before the community was called WCCM. And then in 1991, we had this seminar in New Harmony in the US. That was the official naming or founding of WCCM with this name. So I'm going to show, I hope this works. I'm going to show this short clip. Can you hear? So this was Pete Griffiths, and after this seminar, the community it was growing, and they had some days for discernment. So they decide, from the name WCCM, starting, have a newsletter. So the community really starts officially. So next year will be 30 years of this historic moment. And then if you look, so every year we start to have the JoAnn seminar. I will highlight another historic one. That's the Good Heart in '94 with the Dalai Lama, and this was kind of beginning of. There was a relationship with the Dalai Lama in the community because with a friendship with JoAnn, but this was a historic seminar. So it's another clip. So this was a historic seminar and it became a book. I think a lot of people found the community from the book, The Good Heart. And then there was other events with the Dalai Lama called The Way of Peace in the future after this seminar. So I'm going to also go some images of the seminars, other seminars, 96 Panikar and the 97 Mary McAleese, 98 Thomas Keating. This was our also part of the Way of Peace in 2000 with in Northern Ireland. Archbishop Roy Williams in 21, 24 John Chichester, Richard Hart 25, 2005, 2010 James Allison, 2012 here in Brazil with Leonardo Boff on the ecology. 2017 Bernard McGinn in Houston. Then 2018 there was the very different seminar with different speakers. And last year with Sarah Bachelard in Vancouver. And then this year we have the online seminar that is hosted by WCCM Mexico. So I'm going to ask now Enrique just to share a little bit about these years, the team, and how was the idea to, and how was the changes also that we had with this, with all the pandemic. And you can open your mic and just share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Yes, this has been a very exciting year. But last year I was reading a book that one of my sons had left at home. and it's called Research is Ceremony. And it was written by a First Nations doctor. It's actually his doctorate thesis. And he was referring, as he is from First Nations mother and a Scottish father, how this mixture of elements made him think a bit different about how the Western society thinks about the indigenous people. And his book is exactly about that, because he refers about, we are used to saying, oh, this is a little group I have been studying, and I noticed that they always do this kind of special dance because they want to honor something or other, which is not exactly what they are want to do. You know, we have this kind of Eurocentric view. That was one thing. And the other thing is that he said, all over the world, he felt at home with indigenous peoples, whether it was in Australia or in the Arctic Circle in Finland or in Canada. So that started to make me think if there was something that would kind of unite these indigenous cultures. And it's funny, but I found this quote by Houston Smith, who was also a John Main seminar talker, and he says, one of the non-dual gifts of native traditions is their openness to inspiration and wisdom from community, ancestors, dance, drumming, nature, beauty, and signs and symbols that speak deeply to the unconscious. Because they are not tied to one sacred text, they are freer to discover and honor the sacred everywhere. And that really struck me. And I thought I should talk to Lawrence and say, hey, why don't we make the seminar about this? So we went back and forth, and then at Squamish, we had more talks with Gabriel, who's helping me to organize, actually who's been doing most of the organizing, and with Lawrence. And then there came another beautiful text of John Main that says, every age and every civilization has its own special angle of perception. All people at all times have been inspired and transformed by their contemplation of the one reality, which is the same yesterday, today, and for all time. So with all these elements together, Lawrence agreed that we could make the seminar. And we started looking for the place where we could have the seminar. We wanted to make it a big seminar with a large amount of people. And then we went into this COVID thing, and we had to reinvent everything. And here we are now, and we are looking at a lot of people, which want to participate and are slowly filling their inscriptions, and we are getting some more people every day. And it's funny because we were having 1 or 2 a week. Now we're having 1 or 2 a day. So we are getting there. We would like to have 250 people. We are hopeful that we'll have more than that, but that's where we are right now.
Thank you. Can you speak a little bit about the Zatirka, the main speaker, and also other participants?
Yes, Father Zatirka is a Jesuit, and from the beginning he worked very much in Bolivia with the Quechuas, and in the southeastern part of Mexico with the Celtal tribes. And he speaks both languages, Celtal and Quechua. And you'll see later in his video how he relates very much to these people. But one other thing that caught my attention, which also you will see there, is that the word heart is always very present in all these civilizations. The indigenous people from northern Mexico in the Tarahumara region, they ask themselves, how is your heart, when they greet each other? And well, it's something that's very, very close to their own self. So Father Satirka was there in these places. He knows a lot of how these people communicate and how we can learn from them and try to bring a little bit of their wisdom into our own world, which is now kind of mixed up.
Okay, I think Gabriel is also putting the address of the website in the chat, so we have more information about the other speakers also in the JoAnn seminar website. I'm going to share now, and Enrique, just you touch in the this theme of the heart, and is also part of the theme of the seminar, One Heart, One Hope. So we watch now a short video, 6 minutes, with Satirka speak about this, the meaning of heart, and also I speak about the experience with the indigenous. We'll play just a few seconds. Just give me a sign if the sound is okay. Is that okay?
As you know,
is it okay? Just put the full screen.
In ancient Christian anthropology, taken or in dialogue with Platonic philosophy, but especially in the works of Paul, he describes that the human being is conformed by a body, soma, mind, psyche, and what he calls with 2 words in Greek, that is pneuma, spirit, or nous, more Platonic in that sense. Well, this pneuma, or nous, is the center of the human identity. It's where the body and the mind come together and are harmonized. It's the place where finally we become what we're supposed to be. And we become what we are supposed to be in dialogue, in contact, in communion with God and with the others. It's not surprising that when the 2nd and 3rd generation Christian literature starts producing mystagogies, that is a pedagogical path towards the experience of God, they underline that a spiritual life should guide the person to arrive or to bring their consciousness to that level of pneuma, spirit, a spiritual life, as the name says, or this nous, this place where we feel the togetherness and the wholeness of everything that exists. The literature of these early Christians changed the name of pneuma and nous, the 2 Greek words, for kardia, or heart. If you read the fathers of the desert fathers, the desert mothers, they talk about the heart and how prayer should take you to the heart. The heart is the place where you meet God, where you can live in communion. The name they use is synergia, a union of strength, of will, of love with God. And they call that the heart. The heart is where we become integrated and united with us, with others, with God, with the world. Indian cultures, both in South America, where I was, in Quechua, and especially the ones in Middle America, in Mayan, they call the heart, the Mayan language, in the Mayan languages, the word is Otan. Otan is the heart. And they use the heart to describe the center of the human identity, of each person's identity. And of course, their language has a lot of expressions that have to do with heart. For that reason, they greet one another saying, "How is your heart?" In other communities, they say the greeting is, "Am I in your heart?" Saying, "Do you love me?" or "I love you, you're in my heart." They have other expressions. One that is funny. The way you say that you have forgotten something in Celtal, the language of this Mayan group, is "Chaytacotan." It fell from my heart, and I forgot it. Somebody that is not honest. We normally say in our languages he has two faces. They say he has two hearts, which means he's not really united. Where you're supposed to be united, he's divided, he's fragmented. So the heart, I mean, I'm absolutely certain that the experience is the same. The experience that these early Christians had of finding God in that place where you can only arrive when you're quiet, when you have the right attention, when you are not actively trying to achieve and get and earn and etc. tasks, but rather are open to see what is given to you and what gifts you receive, what graces are given to you. Is the same experience that those early Christians had and what these indigenous cultures have cultivated. The opening to the loving presence of God, I think, is universal. And the different cultures have found different ways on how to get there. So the heart, it's very present in these communities. But when they say heart, they mean you. Where Leonardo is, not only his body that sometimes goes one way through the instincts, or his mind that goes in another way through his wishes and inclinations and rational thinking, but where Leonardo is, where his whole self is united and integrated, and thus we can come into communion. So there are many expressions, like I said, that in the Indian languages that relate to the heart.
Okay. I thought it was a very interesting. You can watch the full conversation in the website. But what struck me was very connected, I think, with meditation, with our community, and so I think it will be very interesting talks from Zatirka. I want to ask you now some of the guests to share also how was maybe Jose, you can start. Jose Pype, how was in Belgium? No, it was, in a way, it was similar because it was a seminar with different speakers, but also it was different because it was each one, I think, with some approach from a different area. So can you just share how was it in 2018 in Belgium, in Bruges, and also if you want to touch the importance of this year's theme?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Enrique, also for the invitation to share something about the John Main Seminar. And I'm very convinced that John Main Seminar, not only 2018, but also 2017, 19, 20 are very providential. I see a kind of of red line through these different John Main seminars. We started in 2017. We started, of course, before 2017, but I remember 2017 in Houston about the mystical ground of Christianity. Then we went to Belgium, just for the crisis, and there were different segments who were just different angles to see, to solve, to respond to the crisis in a contemplative way. And then 2019 was really went to the heart of Christianity. There was a little bit the question for me, how will this relate? Because in 2018 it was very open to the world, and 2019 was indeed also very, very, very open to the world. I was really struck by the openness of Christianity, not the my identity against another, but really looking to the same worlds with a heart. Just for me, there is a providential line, and I was asking myself in 2020, well, before 2020, when Enrique started with the team Indigenous Spirituality, I was asking myself, what is the line with the other John Main seminar? And I see very clear now, after the pandemic, or during the pandemic now, I have also heard mentioning Houston Schmidt, who was one of the leaders also of John Main seminar, who spoke about the tunnel vision. And I think in our Western society, we live in a kind of tunnel vision about religion, also, of course, very strong here in Western Europe. And I think this indigenous cultures can learn something and can open our hearts for this greater wisdom. It's not a nostalgia going back to the past, but really integrating this. I see it as a continuum, the different John Main seminar. This 2018 for me, it was also a leap of faith, because our organization there was the willing. I was willing to do this organization, but you have to work together with your community, and they have to agree with the initiative to organize the John Main seminar. But it was really a wonder of faith. Of course, several people helped me, and it was well structured. I have nothing to do almost. And afterwards, it was also a big success not a big success in numbers, but I see it really as a movement of the spirit. So I'm really now convinced that indigenous spirituality is not something a subject out of the blue, but is really embedded in the total line of the spirit. This I hope also, well, I think for Enrique, it must be very surprised. He must be very surprised, I think, about the pandemic, who changed the whole program. But I think it's a big, it can be an advantage also. I don't say that the pandemic is an advantage, but he can reach more people even without wasting or growing the footprint of our carbon footprint. And so tomorrow I will subscribe, Enrique. I did not subscribe already, but I will do it now. I have to, because you must be courageous about this. It will be, because it's online, it has to grow now. But it was very good to have this meeting and to bring all these things together. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jose. And the seminar in Belgium also, there is a journal, isn't it, called Crisis? So it's kind of a compilation of the talks. I think it's a meditation journal from that seminar. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you now, JoAnn, if you can share also about the experience in Vancouver and how you see this team, the connection as Jose was trying to make.
Sarah Bachelard gave wonderful talks at the JoAnn Seminar 2019. For me, she really brought, it was a contemplative Christianity for our time. And so to me, not only in her words, but in her way of being, she brought the importance of attention and presence and stillness and silence to merge with the teachings of Christ. And I thought, so it was very deep and enriching. One of the gifts of doing the seminar here was that it connected everyone in Canada that worked together, to connected us with people around the world. And we also reached out a lot to people locally here. We put announcements in the parish bulletins of all the Catholic and Anglican churches in British Columbia. We reached out to the Christian chaplains at universities. And so many local people became aware of Christian meditation. And the Father Lawrence did an interview with the BC Catholic newspaper where they published it. So we got lots of press. So just sending out all these invitation letters, I think strengthened the community spirit, which was one of the gifts. In a way, what happened last year is connected to this year, because we had a Squamish elder, Wendy Charbonneau, speak at the end of the pre-seminar silent retreat. And the depth of her spirituality and her wisdom was very moving and enriching for everyone that heard her. And she was a heart opener. There was something about her way of being. And so I think it's very important. You know, we see how we are connected with climate change, with COVID. I think it's so important that we listen more deeply to Indigenous voices. Recently, a study from the University of British Columbia here in Vancouver noted they studied lands in Australia, Brazil, and Canada, and found that all the lands that were managed or co-managed by Indigenous communities had the highest levels of biodiversity. And so that to go forward for the future of humanity, for the generations to come, it's so important that we listen to this wisdom.
Thank you, JoAnn. I'm going to ask now Jose Maria from Argentina if you can now share what you think about these teams this year, and also Argentina is present with one of the speakers. So please.
Thank you, Leo. Well, I really think the theme is absolutely central. I'm very happy Enrique and the Mexican team proposed the theme. Actually, by now, I guess a couple of years ago, we never imagined we would have to celebrate the JoAnn Seminar under circumstances that have made it so evident that it's necessary to meet again with First Nations wisdom. The first meeting between Christianity and First Nations was at the point of the sword, and in a very violent, bloody, and noisy way. So now I think it's a wonderful opportunity to have a new encounter from the perspective of stillness and silence, which has been JoAnn's legacy to contemporary Christianity. I am convinced that all this noise and violence that has characterized Western civilization throughout its development is the root cause of why we are right now experiencing what we're experiencing. So in the case of Latin America, most of our territories are still in conflict over very, very old wounds. For instance, here in Argentina, we have the Mapuche nation, which is really a quite bloody war with civilians through violent claim of land and also of rights that have been overlooked over the years. So this is an opportunity to recognize, I guess, the human nature, the common spirit that inhabits us all through stillness and silence. I was very happy to listen to a talk by a few Australian elders about a couple of weeks ago. And I was moved when I heard one of them say, silence between words is part of the conversation. That is something we are used to talk so fast in the West. And we don't acknowledge that actually, you know, I come from the business field, and in business we are very aware that 80% or more of the communication is nonverbal. However, we kind of ignore this fact on a day-to-day basis. And I was moved by listening to this piece of wisdom from the elders in Australia, whereby they considered that silence is part of the conversation. So I really think there's so much we will have. You were mentioning, for instance, complementing all the knowledge of Father Satirka, we will have Ana Maria Zamazares, who's an anthropologist, an academic. She's at our National Research Institute, has been an investigator for 35 years in the field of First Nations. And well, we've been preparing the last few months, and there's so many points in common if you look at it from the perspective of stillness, silence, and unity, rather than from differences, as it was the first time Christianity met First Nations. So I'm really excited and hoping we have a wonderful JMS this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Yeah, when you spoke about the Australians Aboriginals, I was remembering, there is a video by Father Lawrence. It's very, short, and what is meditation? He mentioned he was giving a talk in Australia, and then when Aboriginal came after the talk, said, my people, you speak about Christian meditation, my people also, we do this for 40,000 years. They have the same or similar practice of contemplation with nature. So it is also, I think, shows the connection with everything. So speaking about Australia, I'm going to share a reflection by Sarah Bachelard. So she recorded 5 minutes on this theme, and she was the speaker last year, and she also very interested in this theme of the Indigenous wisdom. So we are going to watch now, and then I will ask Enrique to just to recap and to give people the basic information about how to register, and then anything else if you want to also Gabriel to come on board and say a few words. So we're going to watch now Sarah. Let's just a minute. If you can confirm if the sound is okay.
I think the forthcoming John Main seminar, One Heart, One Hope, Indigenous wisdom and the future of humanity comes at a profoundly important moment in the life of the world. It's becoming a bit of a cliche to say that the pandemic is revealing the extent of our interconnectedness, the profound interconnectedness between the human and the natural worlds, and the interconnectedness between peoples. And yet at the same time, it reveals the fractures, the alienation, the ways in which the damage we are doing to the whole by an unthinking application of a very kind of dualistic value system comes out of the European tradition and has been enthusiastically embraced by many cultures, including here in Australia. We find ourselves alienated from nature and from the depth dimensions of our own humanity and from community. And Indigenous peoples the world over have been the ones who've particularly suffered the impact of this alienating colonisation of humanity and the natural world. And here in Australia, again, we know that very well with the impact on Australia's Indigenous people by colonisation, often accompanied by horrendous violence. And yet, only now are we beginning to recognise that in these very Indigenous cultures that have been often so devalued and neglected by the dominant worldview, that in these cultures there is the wisdom that is needed for our healing and for the emergence of a vision of human being which is much more holistic, much more integrated, much more understanding the connections between self and community and between humanity and the natural world. And I think that it's especially important at the moment that there be a dialogue and exchange between the contemplative traditions of the major religions, and here especially the contemplative practice of Western Christianity, an engagement with that natural contemplative wisdom of Indigenous communities, that this awareness and vision be nourished and developed in conversation and in exchange, which hopefully leads to the reconciliation between peoples as well as a much more integrated and flourishing human being in the world. So I'm excited by this seminar. I expect that great fruits will emerge from it, and I hope that as a World Community for Christian Meditation and well beyond, this seminar will kind of lead us into a deeper engagement with all of these issues over time.
Okay, Enrique, Gabriel, if you want just to to jump and give people how they can register, if you want to add anything, Gabriel, maybe I can share the screen and just show people the website as well.
Enrique?
Yes. One of the important things is that we're going to have live translation. We're going to have translation into English, into Spanish, into Portuguese. So it will be very helpful for all people registering, that they will be able to listen to the seminar in their own language. We will have some other native speakers. We'll have some speakers from the First Nations of Canada, from British Columbia, from the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and from New Zealand. We will have Tau Wirama, and Vanessa Eldridge. And also from South Africa, we'll have Uleng Matsaneng, and she works at the Jesuit Institute. And she's working with how can dance and song be integrated into liturgy, and then bring this to help people understand a little bit more about Christianity. So it is going to be a really very, very interesting seminar. And Gabriel, if you would like to tell us about how to register and all the things.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending this warm-up of the seminar. I already put in the chat the page, www.johnmainseminar.org. That will be the domain for all the John Main seminars from now on. And you can register, you can pay in one or two establishments. We try, there's some questionnaire or comments that if you have any doubts, we are providing in some way some sponsorships. So we really like to have this as a global seminar. We have everything in the web page. You can do whatever you want. You can hook there. And maybe just to comment that Enrique provide a very wise selection of the speakers. Want to speak about healing from those communities that were, like Sarah mentioned, that were colonized and they were erupted. We have learned from the Canadian wisdom of the Aboriginal people how the government today is recognizing them. And I just got another information about from Australia, how now the global world is recognizing the wisdom of them and try to reconciliate and learn from their wisdom. We have another, the liturgy, like they said, building bridges with them. So in the specific case of Mexico, we have a lot of people, more than 7 million of people that are really still living like they were almost 500 years ago. So I think it will be very, very interesting. I put my email as well, Enrique, so they can forward any questions, any doubts they have.
Okay, I think we are completing this meeting, and I thank you everyone, the guests and everyone that is watching and participating. And I hope everyone can be interested and join the seminar. We have so as Enrique and Gabriel said, we have some talks in English, some in Spanish, and with simultaneous translation. And we also have the recording. So if you don't watch live, you can watch the recordings. So we'll be available for 1 month after the seminar. So you can contact us, contact Enrique, be in touch, visit the website, and we will be working together to have this this experience in a different way, the John Main seminar, but always feeling this sense of we are global, we are connected. So thank you, everyone.
Maybe Leo, just a comment, because this we intend to be completely global. What we did is trying to set all the time of the conferences in order that if people does not join because it's not a good time for them, we will have recorded sessions. You can see the schedule, you can download the schedule of the seminar, so you can see the sessions that are at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. You can see it next day with the translation. And another comment, maybe it's very interesting, is not only the conferences of the speakers, but when they finish their conference, then they will have a dialogue with Father Lawrence. So Father Lawrence will be present in all the sessions, doing a dialogue with the speaker and the community, where they will place some questions or comments, and the speakers and Father Lawrence will comment the participation of the people.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, everyone. And we see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.